Anyway, I guess we should probably start the show. Now that we've done an entire hour bogus future segment here in the
you can just plug that in.
preamble. Cast Iron Brains, a podcast fully aware that, yes, everyone dies. My name is Bob, sitting across the way from my good friend and co-host. That's Abe. How you doing tonight, Abe?
Doing well, Bob.
Yeah, here we are. Lori's here, too. How you doing tonight, Lori?
Everybody living now.
Tonight is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. Here on a Tuesday night, haven't recorded a proper podcast episode in a couple of weeks now. I think because of the way that I put these out, I think we've put out 3 episodes of the music podcast since the last time we put out an episode of Cast Iron Brains, even though it's only been 2 weeks since we recorded.
That's right.
Pretty sloppy work by us. Cannot let baseball interfere with the production of the flagship
We did
podcast.
let baseball interfere. What do you mean we cannot?
No longer will we let baseball interfere with the production of the flagship podcast. Abe, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
Fucking here we are. We already did this part. What's the matter with you? How was the Metallica show?
Yeah, that's all
That's
I
right.
care about. Then we can go.
We're recording on a Tuesday. A week ago tonight, I went to see Metallica at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium here in Atlanta, and it was a great show. I think part of the reason why I enjoyed the show is because they cater to the old geezers. Like the show started at 6 p.m. Like the opening acts, like the headliners, Metallica. They are also that. So they were looking out for us. The headliners, Metallica, started like around 8:15, 8:30, and they were done by like 10:30. Like it was a perfect like get in, get out. Perfect.
Who was the opening act? And also, are you as opposed to opening acts as you are to trailers in movies?
I don't mind opening acts in a concert because like you can just kind of just stroll in, grab a drink, mosey on into your seat, like without worrying about like when the headliners will start. Because as soon as you hear, I think it was Pantera. I was like, I know a couple of their songs, but I don't really care that much about them. So like,
Abe, go watch Pantera. Are you kidding me?
I cut like 4 of their songs. It was fine. But like it was a good setup. I will say though,
how much of Pantera is still alive?
They were all. I mean, the main guy was still sounded pretty, very robust sound. It wasn't hurting for anything.
Well, that's good.
They kept on thanking Metallica for bringing them on. I don't know what's going on in their personal lives. But they were very grateful that they were out and about. I will say, I think Laura, you had mentioned that you prefer shows like that are a little more intimate than like a big stadium kind of setup.
It's not the intimacy; it's the sound. The
sound, yes. So. There was if there was any quibbles with the show, the sound kind of bounced all around, and it was like a good turnout. Like I would say, this stadium can hold about 70,000 people. I would say like 50,000 people were there.
Did they have all 70,000 available, or did they arrange the stage in such a fashion as to like close off some of the seats?
So. In some layouts with concerts, they'll have it just like on one end, and so like the back of that will be not available. But they were basically doing the center.
They've been doing it in the middle.
They're doing it in the middle, so all seats were basically just about available, and they had floor seats also. And so, like I said, I was just kind of estimating around 45 to 50,000 people were there. It could have. I mean, I don't know if there's no other place that could. Accommodate that many people, so you kind of have to do this football stadium setup. But yeah, the sound was a little off. The other thing I found interesting, so you spoke of how old they are, Metallica. I think they're in their early 60s. And 3 of the members have been around forever. There's like that guy that's been relatively recent, like 20 years.
I was going to say, he's been, I think Jason Newsted left the band in like 2002 or something, right?
Right, yeah. So yeah, but I still, for whatever reason, that Robert Trujillo, whatever the guy's name is, like I just think of him as the new guy, right?
Right.
But even though it's been 20 some odd years, the main three are in their early 60s. But Lars and James, halfway through their set, they're like, we have to like take a break. So they fuck off the stage, and Kirk and what's his face, they start doing like improv. Oh, the kids are here.
Why are the kids? I said goodnight already.
Say goodnight.
Oh, we did this already.
I didn't. Come give me kisses.
Ridiculous.
Oh.
So halfway through the show, James and Lars, they leave for like 5-10 minutes, and the other two, they start like doing some weird improv. Hey, everybody, how's everybody doing? Like just kind of like killing time. I think they're supposed to do some sort of like guitar riff, and they did eventually, but there was this awkward 2-3 minutes of like they were just talking, but they didn't really have anything planned. They're just like, oh, look at this, we're here. I was like, what is going on? Like, you guys don't have like a, because this is not the first stop on their tour.
Right.
Like, they don't have some sort of thing set up already. It was very odd. And then they came back, the other two, and they finished it. They did a pretty good job. Comparing Metallica, the Metallica show, to the Creed Three Doors Down show.
I didn't expect this comparison.
One thing that was very apparent was when I went to the Creed Three Doors Down, everybody was my age, around my age or up. Like, there were no kids.
Right.
Hardly any kids. There were.
Do you know why?
So, yeah.
You know what you don't do? You don't pass down your love of Creed and Three Doors Down. Because,
Can't.
less of a chance that you've actually procreated.
You know the Creed fans procreate? They do, all right?
B, less of a chance that you've procreated and also are still involved in your children's lives.
Oh, Bob.
Love.
And
You're embarrassed. Part of you is embarrassed.
yeah, part of you is humiliated that you are
can't.
or were a Three Doors Down and Creed fan. And
I
so
see.
why would you subject your... And there's nothing cool about
There's
it.
nothing. It's not good.
You're not confused about whether or not this thing that you like is cool, right? If you're a huge Creed fan.
So
Whereas,
the limited Creed appeal is just nostalgia, but even the people that remember them don't want to share that with their
you
children.
leave the kids at home for
right.
that.
Let them watch Bluey or whatever. But you don't involve your children in
You
your...
say, kids, we got to go to a concert. You wouldn't understand.
Can you imagine a 10-year-old being forced to listen to "With Arms Wide Open"? That sucks.
Yeah, but
Metallica, on the other hand, you
Yeah.
fucking share Metallica with your children.
there were so many kids. This is not like, like I would say like Braves games is where I see the most kids when it comes to like big outings. Like there's just a lot of kids out there for these baseball games. So it wasn't that, but there were so many kids, and a lot of them, at least the people that were near me that I was chit-chatting with, the kids knew like a lot of the songs.
Yeah.
Like it was like they know this band.
I like that as the ends of the kid spectrum. Like, how many kids were there? Not as many as a Braves game, but more than a Creed concert.
Yes, that's like my yardstick. Yeah, because there's always like a gazillion kids there. But overall, it's a great show.
Yeah, seems like they played some... I pulled up the set list here, if setlist.fm is to be believed. A pretty good set list, including One and Master of Puppets and Enter Sandman there on the back end, of course, and some other good ones throughout.
On the big screen, sometimes they would zoom in on Lars, and he's making his Lars kind of face. Like he's still doing the
There are
same thing.
few more exhausting human beings in rock and roll than Lars Ulrich. Just an unpleasant fellow.
He loved himself, though. Like,
He's a big fan of Lars. That's for goddamn sure. Good experience, though? Like you felt like you got your money's worth, certainly?
Yes, it was a great show. There was I guess there was some expectation that there'd be like some sort of encore, but this 60-year-old group, they're like, that's it. Like,
If they
we
played
kinda
for 2 hours or 2 hours and
Yeah.
15 minutes and they closed with Enter Sandman, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
But people, I guess there's this expectation that because Creed stuck around and did one more, be like Creed sometime.
Well, let's see.
Don't be like Creed.
The next night they were in Tampa, and it looks like they ended with Master of Puppets and didn't have an encore.
Yeah, so maybe they're just not doing encores in general.
Let's see here. And the night before, or a few days, but they don't go back to back, certainly.
Yeah.
They closed with Enter Sandman without.
I wonder if they just alternate their set list.
Looks pretty consistent, at least based on the 4 or 5 shows in and around the one that you went to. About 16 songs every night, a couple of hours, looks like. Well, good.
Yeah.
That sounds like fun. How's the people watching there at the Metallica show besides the kids?
People are pretty great. It seemed like everybody except me had like some merchandise shirt on. Like it seemed like the people loved their Metallica garb.
Yeah.
Everybody had something.
There used to be a point of pride in going to concerts and not being the guy wearing
Yeah, that used to be like a faux pas.
the band's shirt. Like you always want to go, like if I was going to a Queens of the Stone Age concert, I could not wear my Queens of the Stone Age shirt. I could wear a Smashing Pumpkins shirt or a Ben Folds shirt, but never the Queens of the Stone Age shirt. I could wear my Queens of the Stone Age shirt to other concerts. That was totally acceptable. But you never wear the shirt of the band that you're going to see.
That standard must have fallen off a cliff because everybody was wearing.
I wonder with these now classic bands if like the cred is how old is your shirt.
Right. If you have something from the 1993 tour or something
and they did,
like that.
yeah. Like I would read some of the tour day, and it's not like just from that day. It was like from like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So maybe they're doing some sort of thing.
I'm sorry, you're still that guy, which is what we used to call him. You don't want to be that guy wearing the Zero T-shirt at the Smashing Pumpkins concert, you fucking loser.
But what if you wore a Smashing Pumpkins shirt at a Zwan concert?
That becomes a how cool is the shirt question. Like you can't wear the Zero shirt that you got at Hot Topic to the Smashing Pumpkin or to the Zwan concert, but you can wear like a cool Smashing Pumpkins shirt, arguably.
Was this a broadly understood thing?
I mean, among snotty,
very much
rock and roll fans like me and my friends, yes, definitely, widely understood. Also, I wonder if it matters to anyone besides teenagers and people in their early 20s, which is the last time I really thought about worrying about being that guy at a concert.
A lot of parents and their kids.
Although I guess at a music festival you were allowed.
Yeah, sure.
Because you're like, I'm here to see this band. All right, we should talk about your whatever this is.
What is what?
I don't know. Whatever you have open there.
I mean, I don't have any.
Perfect.
This just says the subversive joy of book talk, and I have not read the article. I don't even know why I'm on this page.
Book talk, like TikTok?
It's like TikTok, but book talk. Apparently, it's very important for writers to be on TikTok, and it's how they move a lot of their product is by being.
Is that like where they like peddle like those smut books? Like read this vampire thing.
What sort of state of mind are you in tonight? Abe?
No, I mean I remember reading a story about something along those lines where those fantasy novels were doing a lot of business through TikTok.
Gotta close all of these tabs too. The CBS News.com search function returned. Like as I go there, I go to CBSNews.com and I click the search bar. Mark Strassmann, right? Yeah. And I say, this is how this is my process. Show prep. And I say last 7 days or last 30 days, like depending on how wide a net I'm trying to cast for Strassmann content. And in the past 7 days, it returned 18 results. Wow. I was like, oh my God, this man has been busy.
Busy.
And then I found out that like basically all of them but one were old CBS Sunday morning segments from like 5 and 7 and 11 years ago that for some reason have shown up in the. I don't know if they republished them or they fucked with the way that the dates are in the system or something. But like I thought I had like a whole lot of new Strassmann to go through, but no, it's all very old.
Wow, except for one.
Soft focus stuff. We'll get to Strassmann later though. That's nothing to worry about just yet. Let's see what this next tab here from the New York Times. Dog walking is a clear crime. Iran's latest morality push. The government regards pet dogs as a sign of Western cultural influence. They are also considered impure in Islam. Now there is a crackdown.
Oh, that's a big thing. Growing up, we didn't have any dogs. Cats were okay for some reason. I never understood that. But dogs were, for whatever reason, they were thought as unclean. I think like one of my brothers eventually got one of those cats.
They eat cat poop.
Oh, do they?
Mm-hmm. Oh. Like it's a problem. They're not supposed to. They do it anyway. Brilliant animals.
I'm guessing not the brother who's in Somalia currently.
No, he didn't have any pets. But yeah, for whatever reason, people always like compare you to a dog, like as a just like to make fun of you.
Trump is that way. He is sort of Muslim in that sense. He's always talking about.
That is a good point. You're right.
They treated him like a dog. He gets kicked like a dog.
He does do that.
Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, had issued a fatwa, or religious order. That's a fun word to say, by the way. Yeah. Fatwa. Explain. Like, if I had the power to issue fatwas, I'd be doing it all the fucking time.
It was like an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm about that.
Oh yeah, about just the sound of the word.
Yeah, Larry David just like it was. I forget the plot, but it was something about fatwas.
Yeah, that's a good one. Explaining the logic. The logic. Come on, at least put it in scare quotes, New York Times. A dog's saliva or hair would render anything it touched, like a person, clothing, or a surface, impure. Quote, prayer is invalid with the presence of dog hair, end quote, his fatwa read. Okay. Apparently... you remember the old David Cross bit about after 9/11, Gabriel would strap on his rollerblades and go rollerblading down fucking Fifth Avenue?
Gabriel wants to rollerblade. Gabriel rollerblades.
That's right. If Gabriel wants to rollerblade, Gabriel's going to rollerblade.
Yeah.
Apparently, some Iranians are nevertheless fighting back against these diktats from on high and proudly walking their dogs in public.
Okay, so this walking the dog thing, so are they okay or they're looking the other way if you have a dog at home as long as you're not walking it outside?
I don't know. In Hamadan, in western Iran, the provincial prosecutor's office said that walking dogs or driving with them was, quote, against religious and social values and considered a threat to public health, according to IRNA. Abbas Najafi, the prosecutor, said that dog walking was considered a threat to the health, comfort, and tranquility of citizens. And he pledged serious action against violators, IRNA reported, and said that the police had been ordered to systematically and physically seize vehicles of anyone caught driving with a dog. I bring this story up because people went out into the streets in Los Angeles and Donald Trump sicked the National Guard on them. I don't know, maybe the two stories don't sound terribly similar. But to me, for whatever reason, they struck a similar tone to me, which is people angling for a fight for political reasons. Right? Like the reason that the fucking Ayatollah in Iran wants to suddenly decide that he's angry about people having dogs is for purely political power purposes, right? He wants to rally the conservatives in his country around him and perhaps reinforce some social control over people that he believes are starting to wander in ways that they shouldn't be permitted to. The fact that there are people in California who go out into the street and get mad about ICE raids or what have you. What Donald Trump wants to do is overreact as much as possible and perhaps provoke confrontations. And just 10 seconds of video of protesters beclowning themselves shown on Fox News 400 times over the course of 48 hours. is going to be greatly beneficial to him and his political project. And unfortunately, there's nothing that the other side can do about it.
Right. It always kind of plays out in the same way. Although I don't know much about Iranian culture, is this dog issue, does it inflame the passions of people of Iran in the same way that immigration does here in the States? Like are people kind of rallying around the dog issue? Yeah, because like finally somebody's standing tough on this dog issue.
In Tehran, dog owners appear to be undeterred by efforts to restrict their dogs, a stance that is perhaps evidenced by the growing number of veterinarians in the Iranian capital. About 25 years ago, the city had only one pet clinic, and it was staffed by trainee veterinarians. Now there are dozens, and Dr. Ansari, the veterinarian, is not worried. Clinics are still operational, he said, and people are willing to do whatever it takes to protect and pick up after their beloved pets. Quote, citizens are accustomed to such plans and know to keep a low profile until enforcement eases, he said. And he said pet ownership has continued to grow despite the restrictions. Quote, this trend is unstoppable, he said. So the answer is people are going to continue to fight for their dogs out there in Iran because dogs are great.
It'd be amusing if the Iranian regime was toppled over the issue of the dog.
Yeah, after years of just honor killings.
That's right, yeah.
Women with no rights.
That's right.
That motherfucker took my 1979 Toyota away from me because I had a dog in the passenger seat.
That's right, the canine rebellion of 25. People remember it.
What the fuck is going on in Los Angeles and California more broadly, Abe? Have you been paying attention to the news?
I've been paying some attention to the news. It seems like this is a confrontation that the Trump camp is seeking out, and then
seeking out specifically because it only benefits them, right?
Right.
You see this shit on television or on the internet, and like, I'm sorry, the vast majority of Americans, no matter how much they don't, and by the way, most of them do agree with the hardline immigration stance, according to basically all of the polls. Right. But even among the people who don't agree with Donald Trump's hardline immigration rhetoric, if you see people misbehaving in public, the average person and the vast majority of people are that their reaction is not going to be, oh, but protest is a staunch American value and we should respect that. And really all they care about is the various people out there. No, they're going to say, what is this asshole doing? Go to work. Right. What the fuck are you doing in the streets? And this is something that the Trump administration will continue to benefit from.
Right. And this is, depending on, I think just about every poll, like Trump, if you break it down by issue, he's pretty much underwater in most, but immigration is the one where he's still doing well. I think CBS had him at 54%, like his handling of immigration. So like this is the one issue where he has a lot of support. And people do not like chaos. They don't like any of that. Like when they see just cars on fire, like even if it's a Waymo, like a driverless vehicle on fire, people those don't go over well with most people who aren't paying attention that much. Another thing that doesn't work optics-wise is just the number of Mexican flags. Like you would think, like you would want to make the argument that Americans are standing up for America, and you would want to have a bunch of American flags. You don't see that.
It's so completely fucking incoherent when you see various countries' flags at protests. Like, what are you even doing? Like, because the argument, you completely lose the argument that the thing that you're doing is standing up for American values when you go out there and you start flying the flags of all of these countries. Like, I don't understand.
I think, maybe we're just kind of misunderstanding the motivation for some of the people that are out there in Southern California, in LA in particular. Maybe they're not trying to win, they're not trying to persuade anybody, because they're not doing a good job of it if they were. Maybe they're just kind of reacting in the moment. And so they're not thinking about how this plays to the general population, because it doesn't play very well. Trump overreacting and sending the Marines also is not going to work very well either. This seems to be like a confrontation that could spiral out of control. Actually, it was very timely. I finished reading this book on the Kent State shootings from like 50 some odd years ago.
Yeah.
And that, if you looked at the polls then, a lot of people did not support the students. A lot of people were like, the National Guard, they were in the right. They should have killed more of them.
Right. Well, not to go full fucking right winger here, but like, who has taught us for 3 generations since then about the Kent State situation, and like, what is the ideological makeup of most of the people who were teaching us that particular history? And it was people who are far more likely to be sympathetic to the students there than it is the National Guard. Like, that's just it's a fact of who goes into the field of academia.
Right, but that kind of warped my perception of it. I thought, like, basically it was one of those things that kind of shocked the nation, and people were just aghast at, like, Americans shooting fellow Americans. You know, the National Guard is made up mostly of, like, young people. So, like, kids are shooting kids, you know, and that did some sort of damage to the national psyche, blah, blah, blah. But no, people were like, these kids, these commies, these, you know.
I'm going to interrupt you here because I had an inkling here about something else, because the first thing that I go to when I think of what are we taught about America's sin,
slavery,
right?
Like,
so
which sin?
But like various sins through the years. Obviously, the original sin is the slavery question. The one that stuck with me from a very young age was the internment of Japanese Americans and all other Japanese on American soil in World War II. So I just Googled real quick, public support for Japanese internment, and the AI returns. Public opinion initially strongly supported the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. A poll by the American Institute of Public Opinion found that 93% supported the internment of non-citizen Japanese Americans, and 59% supported the internment of citizen Japanese Americans.
Wow.
So, like, and that's something that has been taught to me as unequivocal and indisputable horror of American history, and something that I fully agree with in my in the modern mind as being utterly unacceptable.
But why don't the people who are teaching that, you mentioned that, you know, they kind of skew kind of left of center, the professors and the historians, but you would think that they would want to include that context to say, like, even though once the dust settled, people look back on it in horror, in the moment, people were in support of. I don't recall that being a thing. People were like, "Oh, this was a terrible thing that was done, and we know it's terrible, and it was wrong."
I definitely had no idea that 90% of Americans thought that we should intern the Japanese.
Most people don't, like, because, like, if you look back at history, you're kind of looking at it backwards instead of, like, in the moment. Like, what was it like in the moment? And you just said that I would not have guessed it was that high. I would think it'd be 50-50 or something, but I would not think it'd be that high.
Anyway, apologies for interrupting you and getting you entirely off track there. I don't remember what you were saying.
But no, so with Kent State, it took no one who shot those students got into any criminal. They weren't convicted of anything. Nothing happened. There was no money, civil, nothing. Like, basically, this happened, and no one was held to account. It took 20 years for them to kind of put some sort of, like, memorial at Kent State. The university wanted to do nothing with it. They just wanted to move on, and the families and others kept the memory alive. But it took many years for our current understanding of Kent State to be what people remember. But in the moment,
the song, I know the song.
Right, yeah, there was that, "Four Dead in Ohio."
That's literally all I know about it.
Yeah. But, like, in the moment, people were very much like the agitators, outside agitators, all the similar language you hear even to this day, where, like, all these people are outside agitators, commies, whatever. The problem I see now is, like, the reason why I wanted to read the story about Kent State is because, like, we're headed now. You have a president who has the power of the pardon, right? So, like, people will have immunity. Basically, they'll be able to act with total immunity. Like, no one from the National Guard is going to be in trouble, right? So, like, there's no need for restraint on that side, and on the other side, people are throwing rocks at moving cars. They don't seem to care about bodily damage to random law enforcement. Like, it seems like this is a perfect storm for something terrible to happen, and it's just a matter of time before it does.
And obviously our predictions are nonsense, but I certainly remember predicting that there would be political violence at the convention in last time around, right? That things could get gnarly in Chicago because of the sort of factions within the Democratic coalition that were angry about Israel and Hamas, and that didn't come to pass. But like, this is another one where it's like we are going to have a great deal of civil unrest on the streets because it is, in part because, like I keep saying, it is to the president's and his party's benefit for there to be disturbance in the streets of Los Angeles, right? Like he very much benefits from this.
But it could also backfire. Like, if you have many occasions where this happens, like you have a thing in LA, there was some.
But they never take responsibility for it. They never are held accountable by their side for the chaos, right? The chaos is always someone else's fault, or the chaos is good. Those are the only two options. There's no point where they're going to acknowledge, oh shit, Donald Trump doesn't have control in this situation. It will be, look at these fucking animals, and here's Trump coming in to put them down, and it's the correct thing to do.
Right. And until something goes wrong and there's an overreaction and people die, and then, maybe it's the same as Kent State. Maybe the reaction is different. It'll inflame the issue, and there'll be other cities. Because there was a protest in San Diego before L.A. I saw some clips in Austin. There is, it's not as bad as L.A., but it seems like if this continues to happen in major cities, I mean, you're going to spread the National Guard thin. You can't be everywhere all at once. So it seems like this strategy that Trump is using could backfire if he goes over the top.
Kristi Noem, widely identified on the left as Ice Barbie. Kind of funny.
She would fit in Iran, right? She wasn't a big fan of dogs. Didn't she pew pew kill one of them?
That's right. Dog killer, Kristi Noem. She said about Los Angeles, they're not a city of immigrants, they're a city of criminals, because she has protected them for so many years. She's talking about the mayor of L.A., Karen Bass. Los Angeles is the second biggest American city, I believe, right?
Yeah.
By population.
Yeah, of criminals.
And the largest.
What?
Yeah.
Like, why is the Secretary of Homeland Security calling America's second biggest and one of our most important cities a city of criminals?
A city of criminals that will be hosting the world in 2028 at the Olympics, during the Trump administration.
Right. And she says the more that people conduct violence against law enforcement officers, boy, we're going to hit them back, and we're going to hit them back harder than we ever have before. They're fucking thirsty for this, and they're thirsty for it because it plays so well with their supporters. This is neither here nor there. Sarah Huckabee Sanders on television, just talking about things. We don't really need to hear it because I'm going to comment in inappropriate fashion on her physical appearance.
What's wrong with the governor from Arkansas?
I didn't say there's anything wrong. I don't appreciate you assuming that I'm going to say something negative about her physical appearance. I'm just acknowledging that the commentary upon anyone's physical appearance is no longer kosher in today's enlightened moment. Have you heard the expression Ozempic ass or Ozempic butt? Over the course of the last couple of years, I've heard about people getting Ozempic butt, which is that, like, because you're dropping weight from everywhere. It's not like liposuction where they go in and they surgically remove fat
like
from particular areas, right?
Yeah.
Like, so when you start losing weight from the GLP-1 inhibitors, it just kind of melts off you entirely. And what I've heard about Ozempic ass is that people who had previously had, like, plump buttocks were falling victim to a wicked case of the gone ass.
This is a risky Google search. Is this going to be some graphic stuff that I'm going to see if I click on it? What's going to happen if I?
You might want to pull it up in incognito.
Before and after, maybe throw in a before and after.
Yeah, before and after Ozempic ass. That hadn't occurred to me. Maybe I should try that too.
Ozempic butt. At least they cleaned it up a little bit.
The AI overview. I searched Ozempic butt, and then Gemini tells me, quote, Ozempic ass, end quote, refers to a phenomenon where individuals taking the weight loss medication Ozempic experience sagging or loose skin in the buttocks area. What I'm getting at here is that the governor of Arkansas, who I believe I have previously described as having the face of an old beat-up catcher's mitt, which I take... Listen, I'm not saying that now. I'm saying that in the past I have been rude in that fashion.
But now you're smart.
Now I'm not that way anymore. Huckabee Sanders now looks like an old beat-up catcher's mitt with Ozempic ass. Like it.
Let the record show that we can't see her buttocks from this vantage point.
No.
So
with Ozempic ass of the face is what I'm getting at here.
Gotcha.
I have no idea what's going on the back end, but there's something about. I suspect that her situation has been modified by the semaglutide drugs.
We don't know that she's actually on it. Just to be fair to her, right? You're just making an assumption. Okay.
We don't care either.
Yeah.
No, certainly not. I only bring it up because she showed up in a video that auto-played while I was trying to read about Kristi Noem. Apologies.
Know him. I hardly know him.
I think Lori is asking, would you, about Kristi Noem right here?
I hardly know him.
This is very funny. The screenshot of Kristi Noem being interviewed on the Fox News channel includes in the bottom right corner a plug for coming up next on Hannity, Adam Carolla.
Is that where Carolla is these days? He's making the rounds on Fox News?
He does podcasts and then does quick hits on Hannity.
Oh, ace man. Boy, he used to have Germany or Florida. I wonder if he did away with that because that goes against the Fox News
Probably
angle.
still thinks about it.
By the way, Arkansas, the largest city is about 200,000. Little Rock.
Headed to the College World Series.
Oh, yeah? Look at that. So, like, it would probably not even be in the top 20 cities, like, in California. Like, so she's saying, like, she would not see this issue that she sees in California or other major states, like in her state. Like nobody lives in Arkansas.
No. I know it's lame to only talk about this in terms of the way in which it benefits the Trump administration, but I don't know. Like,
I mean, if it wasn't benefiting the Trump administration, this would not be happening in this way, right? You can still achieve deportation proceedings without this thuggery tactic of like sending a bunch of like goon-like people who, I mean, they're law enforcement, but they're behaving like a bunch of goons, right? And so like that's like by design, just to kind of inflame the communities where this is happening.
Yeah. All right. Real quick on Joni Ernst. This is from a couple of weeks ago now, I believe, but we haven't recorded it in a little bit. She was having a town hall. She's a senator from Iowa. And there were some folks in the audience there who were complaining about the defunding of various things and this and that. And she made sort of a snide remark because somebody in the audience says, you know, people are dying because of the various programs that are being cut. And she gives the, well, we're all dying, sort of sarcastic response. And I'll play the clip here.
Everybody living now.
When you are arguing about illegals that are receiving Medicaid benefits, 1.4 million, 1.4, they are not eligible, so they will be coming off. So people are not, well, we all are going to die. So for heaven's sakes, For heaven's sakes, folks. Okay, no, but well, what you don't want to do is listen to me when I say that we are going to focus on those that are most vulnerable.
All right, so that's what she says in the heat of the moment in an exchange with somebody who's upset with her. And then the next day or maybe a couple of days later, she goes on Instagram and posts the following.
If it's not a System of a Down video, I'm not interested.
Hello, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely apologize for a statement that I made yesterday at my town hall. I was in the process of answering a question that had been asked by an audience member when a woman who was extremely distraught screamed out from the back corner of the auditorium, "People are going to die." And I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well. But for those that would like to see eternal and everlasting life, I encourage you to embrace my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
All right, so that was her sarcastic, I think it's fair to say, apology about the whole exchange. I do think that, first of all, it's worth noting that it was a classic politician's gaffe to say,
right,
well, everybody's dying, right?
A very flippant attitude on her part. In the before times, this would have been damaging to her political career, where she wouldn't be taking this course of action to where she can just make light of it. It's very reminiscent of, like, when they, I think there was like a 60 Minutes segment where, like, many years ago, they were like, there are some germs that are going to be resistant to the drugs that we're using, like in hospital settings, where like there'll be a point to where it's no longer responsive to the germs and people are going to be in a bad way. Like, I think that's where we are with the politics. Like, shame and political cost, none of that seems to apply anymore. Like, you can make this sort of gaffe and just laugh it off the next day.
Politics
no harm.
as drug resistant is
like, that's where we're at now.
Pretty
like
good.
Yeah, because like basically, like, there's not going to be a political cost. She probably would have been in worse shape if she just owned up to it, to say, like, I was in the heat of the moment, I said something in a flippant, responded flippantly. I obviously sanctity of life, blah blah blah, all this shit.
Right,
but, like,
because
no.
she perceives that she is more likely to be harmed by appearing to cave to the woke mob or whatever, because it's thoroughly impossible for the person who's upset about cuts to Medicaid potentially being a part of the big beautiful bill, for that person to hold those beliefs sincerely, right? According to the entire other side of the political spectrum, that is just someone who's trying to score political points against the dear leader, Donald Trump. And therefore, to take them seriously is to lose. And so what you must do is make fun of them. And she made fun of them in the moment, and then the next day doubled down on making fun of them. What's interesting to me...
Grab them by the pussy.
Right. Is not so much that she doubled down on making fun of them, but this is a person who presumably has sincerely held beliefs about her faith, right?
Right.
Like, certainly someone who has always presented themselves in a public-facing manner as likely truly believing that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and is the eternal Savior of mankind, and, like, can provide everlasting life in reality to everyone. And she chooses in this moment to deploy that as a troll.
Yes.
Right? Like, she's weaponizing what is apparently a sincere, like, and it makes me assume that she doesn't actually believe these things, right? Yeah. That it is just a virtue. It is, and then there's the you turn around and it's actually signaling a vice when you refuse to capitulate to the people that you've wronged.
The same energy as the girl in Saved. Was that the name of the movie? With Mandy Moore?
Yeah.
It's that same energy. Like, well, maybe if you believed in Jesus.
Right. This is not a sincere, open-hearted invitation to the faith, right?
Right.
This is not someone doing evangelism on behalf of the Christian faith. This is someone who's using her faith as a fucking billy club to beat the other side over the head with. And it's like, to me, it's like, it's so fucking, again, like, why do I respect the things that you allege to believe more than you do, right? Like, how can you possibly, like the thing that you said about people have this high idea or they think way less of God than they think that they do, right? Like, does this matter to you at all? Does any of this matter to you at all? And the obvious answer is no, that the only thing that matters to them is how much of a perceived own or win they can get over their enemies. Right. And it's like such a fucking bummer because, like, this is what Joni Ernst, of all people, is reduced to. Someone who, until fucking 10 years ago, you would have said is a relatively serious person in politics.
Right. All of those people, that maybe they're just like, this is what, this is the new environment, and I'm going to engage in it. Like, because you're right. Like, I mean, 10 years ago, like, she would have been like more of a, I mean, she was conservative always, like, from Iowa, but like, she wasn't like this.
Right, and she will pay a much greater political cost for giving a sincere apology than she will for doing this thing where she takes Jesus and bashes the other side over the head with him, right? Like, and that's fucking weird, right? Because apparently none of the people on her side those beliefs don't actually matter to them either. Right.
It's very like tribal. Basically, it's a greater sin for you to cede ground to the other tribe, even if it means like being flippant and cavalier about an issue you profess to care about, which is the sanctity of life. Like, to be that flippant, like, people die all the time. I mean, that's not exactly what she said, but that was like her attitude. Like, who cares? People die. Like, I mean, that's your attitude? Like, what is that? It doesn't make any sense. Also, by the way, just a brief aside, big, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
BBB. Build Back Better. BBB. Is that a coincidence? Like,
well,
yes, is my guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm like, what's with that?
It's only 26 letters.
Trump loves big things and he loves beautiful things, and Bill is just what it is.
Right. And then the Build Back Better was eventually trimmed down because the big package didn't go through. And not to jump ahead, the likelihood that this is going to be trimmed down, it'll be a slimmer pack. It's a similar path. It's weird how it's like on the same course.
Is this where we insist on saying something about the fallout between Donald Trump and Elon Musk here and how weird and stupid that was?
Yeah, I think that this is a drug issue. Like, I mean, I know it's a little irresponsible of me.
It was a drug issue way before fucking 2 days ago.
I know this has been mentioned many times, like, ketamine this and whatever that. Like, he's on something. Like, his
I think
acting
he
out.
acknowledges that he's on a great deal of ketamine.
Right. Like his acting out.
But that's
and
not how you act on ketamine.
Yeah, so I don't maybe he's on other things also. I'm not sure. But, like, his, Trump is a pedophile, like, which is a weird admission to say. Like, you were cool with it if you got, like, your priorities, like, to support a pedophile, but not now?
I've known about the fact that Trump is on the Epstein list for the last year, but only now that we're not buddies anymore am I going to tell you that he's on the Epstein list. Also, I am the only reason he got elected president. And he's a pedophile. Whoops.
Whoops. And now you pissed
Again,
off
it's
everybody.
an example of another person who doesn't think past the next 3 words coming out of their mouth.
Right. Because him supporting Trump cost him a lot of his traditional customer base, at least with Tesla, right? I mean, all over here in Atlanta, a lot of liberals drive Teslas, right? And so pissed off an entire segment of the population.
Then now
he's pissed off the other side, right? So, what's the idea? Like, there's, like, no logic behind his actions. He's like a Kanye West.
I think that's
like Kanye
basically
West,
correct. That
Yeah.
he and Kanye are on the exact same wavelength.
Yeah.
Weird geniuses in certain ways who are also fucking retarded for the most part.
Yeah. The African Kanye West.
When
Kanye West is black.
it's a good joke. I appreciate it. Do you think that Donald Trump is on the Epstein list in the way that Elon Musk is insisting that he is?
I don't know, but it seems like to not matter because, like, for the brief period, because I think he's
to be clear. It is known that he was on Epstein's jets multiple times, right? Like, this is not new information. This is stuff that we've known before. They were known associates.
The FBI director was on Joe Rogan. By the way, okay, so the sitting FBI director is doing 3-hour podcasts with Joe Rogan.
And on television all the fucking time.
And on television all the time. On Saturday, I don't know how many viewers did this, but like Saturday evening, I watched the CNN Live broadcast of Good Night and Good Luck. And then
I saw that it was on and steadfastly refused to watch. You, as a fucking Sorkin fellatio master, I knew that if that happened to be on, you'd be like, oh, I gotta.
Wait, is that a Sorkin movie?
No, it's just of the Sorkin verse in a way, even though he had nothing to do with it. That feels very Aaron Sorkin.
It's probably his favorite.
Right. But I watched that, and then there was some coverage afterwards about, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. What are the ramifications? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, after that, I go down the street to my local sports bar, and I watch the UFC pay-per-view, people punching and kicking each other. And
I'm sure you were very much in the majority there. Like, roughly 80% of the people in the UFC bar had just come from a home viewing of the live broadcast of Good Night and Good Luck on CNN.
I'd love to see those crosstabs. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of connection there.
It's a Venn diagram in which you are the one holding the crosstabs together.
Anyways, that fucking sports product now is like entirely a Trump fest, right? So like they bring him on, they do like a big entrance for him, like with him and Dana White, and he's sitting there watching the fights, and all the winners of the UFC fights are like shaking his hand and they're taking pictures. It's this weird, bizarre world where I'm like, what the hell is going on? But it's on, going back to the Joe Rogan thing, Kash Patel is talking up the Epstein this and Epstein that, and like the news broke that Elon Musk was accusing Trump of being a pedophile, and he shut up immediately. He's like, oh, I don't know what he's talking about. Let's move on. Earlier, he was happy to kind of talk up about like all this innuendo and like how many pedophiles there are and how much information he has. And as soon as Trump's name was worked in, he's like, I don't know what the hell that is. I'm going to stay out of this. I'm just the FBI director. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, leave me alone. Like, it was very weird. I don't know.
I'm not saying that he was banging girls, but he was banging somebody, like, on those planes, right?
Yeah, because it's him. Hey, like, Clinton's also on the list, right? I mean, there've been a handful of, like, politicians that are associated with it.
Yeah. I also don't think that the dude killed. Like, I don't think that the dude didn't kill himself, I should say. Like, my presumption is that it is in fact the case that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
That's what the FBI director said. Like, he's got all the evidence, and he's like, it's 100% he offed himself. There's no like grand conspiracy, blah blah blah. Which Joe did not like. Oh, there's no way, because it's that he was killed to keep him quiet is the more salacious, interesting story. But like the reality is that he just killed himself.
Right. This was was going to be on the show when we did this a week ago, but we didn't get to it. The Supreme Court, this is from CBS News, Supreme Court sides with Ohio woman in reverse discrimination case. And I only bring it up to say that there's no such thing as reverse discrimination. Yes. And yet a lot of the coverage about this case insisted that this was about reverse discrimination. Right. Reverse discrimination is a euphemism that is used to cover up the idea that somehow majority types cannot be discriminated against,
right?
Which is an absurdity.
Yeah.
Like, of course, someone of a majority demographic in any possible way can be discriminated against. We live in a world and have lived in a world in which women outnumber men on the planet reliably, right? Like for as long as I've known that such a thing, like there's always more women.
It's like 51-49. It's been consistent.
Right.
There's more boys born.
Yes, but they are way more likely to die.
They're stupid.
And so the demographics have consistently worked out that there's very slightly more women than men, and yet it is always and I understand why, right? Because of various the historical facts and power dynamics and all of the rest. But women have always been treated as the minority, right? And so the idea being that somehow you cannot discriminate against someone who's in the majority is fucking belied by the fact that we like the notion of discrimination besides race is sex, right? Like it's sort of a long fight between who gets discriminated against worse. Is it because of sex or because of race? And
just depends on what we're talking about.
Depends on what you're talking about here. But like the idea, like then according to that standard, it's all reverse discrimination that we're talking about when it comes to sex. And that's simply, it's not the case. Jumping in here to note that apparently my intuition or thought about this beforehand was wrong. The global sex ratio currently stands at a very slight edge to males rather than females, as it has for apparently the 21st century at the very least. So my example is wrong, but the thrust of what I'm getting at remains the same. And just wanted to point out that there are, in fact, at the moment, more men than women roaming the planet. There's no such thing as reverse discrimination. It is just discrimination.
It'd be like saying like reverse murder. Like typically I don't murder, but this time I did. I think we talked about this before because I was like, I'm surprised this case is even a thing. I assumed it was going to be a unanimous decision, and it was. I think a lower court concocted some sort of higher standard that a member of a majority population has to prove that like if you're like in a minority group, you didn't have to jump through this extra hoop, and this person who was victimized.
If you are a white or a straight, then you must prove that you have a higher standard of proof over whether or not discrimination happened. And Ketanji Brown Jackson, one of the court's three liberals, wrote the unanimous opinion that in fact that is nonsense. And discrimination is discrimination, whether or not you're part of a majority group, because it's so fucking patently obvious. Like because the person who is your boss, who is doing the potential discrimination, like they aren't like, why would they be representing the interests of the majority in every case when they are not necessarily of that majority, right? Like it's plain as day to me.
Was this a gay cabal thing? Like the people
apparently
in power?
That's what this woman is claiming, that she kept getting passed over for. And to be clear, like I think it's super fucking lame that this woman is convinced that there's a gay conspiracy to keep her from getting a promotion. In all, my guess is that she's just bad at her job or unpleasant in the workplace, and that's why people who had been there for less time than her and were on paper less qualified than she was to advance were getting promotions before she was. That's my guess, is that this is not, in fact, a conspiracy of the LGBTQ community to keep her down. But also, she shouldn't have some like higher standard of evidence to prove such fact, or it shouldn't be the case that this is somehow understood as reverse discrimination, because there's, in fact, no such thing. Let's see what else I've got here. Travel ban.
10:30.
I know. I'm just hitting a couple of headlines here since it's been a couple of weeks. The travel ban is back. Last Trump administration, we got it on effectively day one or whatever, like week one, and it was this big disaster. And they've waited a few months here, and they've once again banned 12 countries from anyone at all from traveling to the United States, and then a handful more have severe restrictions coming into effect yesterday, apparently. I assume that there have been multiple court challenges or will be in the coming days.
Right. And Somalia once again on the list.
Yeah. Fully bans the entry of foreigners from Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, the Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. I will first of all say that to ban all entry of foreigners from Afghanistan, it being first on the list here, is ridiculous after what's happened over the course of the last 20-odd years. And our treatment, our collective treatment of the people who, in particular, the ones that helped us in our efforts there to overturn the Taliban and establish a more reasonable form of government in that country. Our abandonment of that population of people is something that I think I've talked about before, and certainly I've read a lot about over the course of the last few years, and is fucking shameful. And it sucks that we would make, with no exceptions, ban all people coming here from Afghanistan.
Right.
And then also, like, it apparently people are like, oh, but what about the World Cup that's coming up here in a little bit? And they will provide exemptions and exceptions for athletes, of course.
It's kind of like, you know, how they have these international events like in like Muslim countries where they ban alcohol and they have some carve outs. Like, okay, you can drink for those 14 days. There'll be something like that, some sort of exemption.
All right, getting late. Let's play the Mark Strassmann game. It's now time for America's favorite game show. Did Mark Strassmann, CBS News' senior national correspondent, get off a good one?
Cities all over America face the same challenge: how to revitalize their downtowns. For one city, the answer was baseball. The city built a ballpark, not on a cornfield, but on a lumberyard, and people came. Mark Strassmann has tonight's Eye on America.
Fluor Field, a field of dreams come true for Greenville, South Carolina.
Family friendly. There's things for everybody to do. Easy to get to.
Cheap.
Cheap, that's what I was going to do.
The stadium's home to the Greenville Drive, the high-A minor league baseball team for the Boston Red Sox, complete with a replica of Fenway Park's Green Monster. But its big pitch is community.
We were really embraced by the community, and then we began to learn all that a baseball team can do for a community.
Craig Brown, a former high-powered Manhattan advertising executive, built the stadium for $20 million in 2006. He still owns it and the team.
Fluor Field has become the front porch of the community, and you know, in the South, the front porch is where the family gathers. That's very much how we operate the place.
This ballpark has had a monster impact. It draws roughly 500,000 people a year for ball games and other events. And over the last decade, the city says the team's financial impact has been nearly $300 million. But the stadium did much more. After a number of Greenville textile factories shuttered, Fluor Field, using bricks salvaged from demolished mills, jump-started a renaissance in the city's West End downtown, a blighted area that used to be seedy and scary.
There was a letter to the editor that said, you put a baseball stadium down there, only prostitutes will go to baseball games.
Knox White, the mayor here for 30 years, says Greenville's approach 20 years ago was unusual for the time, but savvy. The city insisted the downtown stadium be part of an ambitious mixed-use development.
This was the transformational event. Suddenly this area close into the stadium became a place for condos and some high-rises and hotels, but beyond it, residential neighborhoods were transformed as well.
And without the stadium, would any of this have happened?
Not at this end of downtown. This stadium was a home run by any measure.
The mixed-use approach draws people and new businesses downtown. Old Europe Desserts serves coffee and sweets several blocks from the ballpark. Owner Bobby Doherty. Why was the baseball stadium such a big draw?
Bodies. I sell cake. I need bodies through the door. So I knew I was kind of right in the middle of all the traffic, if you will.
And that was the sweet spot.
That's the sweet spot, yeah.
That's what Greenville found here. a sweet spot for development that touches all the bases. For Eye in America, I'm Mark Strassmann in Greenville, South Carolina.
Greenville's idea is catching on. There are plans to build or renovate at least 39 major sports venues across the country, from New York to Las Vegas.
Look at that.
All right, Abe. Did Mark Strassmann, senior national news correspondent at CBS News, get off a good one?
Yes, he did. He had a couple of good ones. He got the big pitch is community, Monster Impact after that thing.
Strassmann gets off a good one.
Can I quickly point something out? This is an unfair, very unfair accusation I'm going to make here. That owner of Old Europe is like a serial killer. Usually people would say foot traffic, not bodies. I need bodies.
This is a man who believes that human beings and their bodies are just vessels for his cake.
So this is funny because when he said downtown Greenville, my thought was, I bet it's a dessert shop.
Oh, nice.
And then it was, because that's all that place has.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's a serial killer, but I do worry about the degree to which he believes that a human being is just a place for him to put his cake. Also, this motherfucker's been the mayor of Greenville for 30 years.
People are happy with him.
That is a long time.
Although it is why why have term limits in these random cities? It's Greenville.
All right, you've been listening to Cast Iron Brains, a podcast with Bob and Abe. Find the show on Substack, brainiron.substack.com for more from us, including the Billboard Hot 100 show, where we have most recently discussed in consecutive weeks just how unpleasant we find the music of, what's his fucking name?
Morgan Wallen.
Morgan Wallen. And do our best to find other more pleasant things to listen to and discuss. Check it out. All you got to do is go to brainiron.substack.com. It's easier if you just sign up for the emails, and then you just get the podcast delivered to your inbox, and you can listen to it right there. Yeah, it's not showing up in the regular podcast feed because it gets mad. For some reason, people don't like it out there. The lawyers don't love that I keep just using all of this music and playing the music and not paying for any of it. I don't understand.
And talking shit about it.
I think we should be permitted to discuss art in that fashion without paying for it. And there's no doubt I'm driving business to those greedy assholes one way or another.
That's right.
So yeah, check it out. brainiron.substack.com for more of that. The opening and closing themes of our show were composed by Mark Gillig, tetramermusic.com, TETRAMER music.com. For more from Mark. Abe, my gal, Ana de Armas, starring in a new John Wick franchise movie called Ballerina. Did you enjoy the film?
I watched it. It was fine. It had the same beats as your standard John Wick movie. It starts with some sort of somebody dies. So John Wick was that dog. He got a little carried away with it. It was just a dog guy. Easy. With the Ballerina, it was her old man.
Was a gift from the wife or to the wife or something, and his wife is dead now. This is a dead wife issue, not a dog issue, Abe. I don't appreciate you.
I don't want to pull a Khomeini on you, but it's just a dog. Come on, But anyway, with your girl, her dad gets killed, and now she's seeking revenge for that death. So the whole movie centered around that. John Wick makes a cameo appearance at the top and at the end. Like he shows up at the beginning when Ana de Armas is like learning how to be a ballerina and also a killer. Like a fighter.
Killer
and
ballerina.
Whatever.
It's fine.
And then there's a confrontation at the end because the underworld, they send John Wick to stop her because she's coming for the guy, and he has a lot of connects and say, hey, can you send me that John Wick to kill this lady so that I don't die? And so John Wick goes there, and he's like, oh, I can't let you do what you're going to do. And then she fights him, and he makes easy work out of her. Like, that was weird. Like, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, John Wick is, like, much stronger.
Spoilers.
But makes easy work of her, and she just says, like, please, just let me get this guy. You understand, like, revenge? And he's like, yeah, go ahead.
Nah.
What the fuck? What was the point of this scene? I guess they just needed John Wick or, Keanu Reeves to be in this movie. But it undermined the build, because she was, like, learning how to use her feminine skills by punching people in the nuts, because, like, you can't fight the guy straight up because they're stronger with you.
A lot of nut punching montages throughout this film.
Is it Jackass? Is it actually Jackass?
No, it's not quite Jackass, but basically they're just telling you, use your, advantages. And there are the typical scenes. My favorite John Wick recurring thing is there's always, like, a fight scene at, like, at a nightclub or somewhere where people are dancing. And
the best scene in the first movie is when he goes to the nightclub and tries to find the kid from Game of Thrones.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I loved that movie, by the way, the John Wick movie. I watched.
How much do you love John Wick?
One time when Lori was out of town, and I've never seen more than a couple minutes of any of the sequels, and I want to. But mostly I want to watch it, like, with Lori, and Lori, we still haven't even gotten around to watching the first one.
No, we can watch it. I know you want to make out with Keanu Reeves.
I don't want to. You're confused.
It's fine.
Lori's referencing something that we discussed at the end of last night's episode, which I included in I could have cut it. No one would have known.
That's
but I'm not embarrassed of what I said last night.
You shouldn't be embarrassed.
In fact,
he's an attractive man.
A good bit and hilarious. And you should go and
You would prefer him younger. That was the only quibble.
Fucking Abe with the spoilers again.
Anyways, this movie, well received critically, underperformed at the box office. The movie ends with, it's definitely set up for a sequel, because she, spoiler, she gets her way. She gets the guy.
I mean, I'm sure they're trying to franchise the shit out of this.
So basically, there's a bounty on her. Like, all right, she violated some rule. These people are killing each other, but there are rules, and she violated one of them, and now there's money on her head, and the movie kind of ends where it can pick up later. So I'm not sure if they'll do another one, but it's perfectly set up for...
I believe you have, in the past, from time to time, besmirched the acting ability of my girl, Ana de Armas. How did you feel about her performance and tread lightly?
So I will say an improvement in her acting skills. But she doesn't have the gravitas to carry a movie like, I never thought I would say this, like a Keanu Reeves. I always thought he was a terrible actor.
You are going the full Khomeini here with you don't think the woman can carry the movie,
No.
I think is what I'm getting here.
Scarlett Johansson can carry movies just fine. It's just, some people have that, it factor.
Yeah. You're saying Ana de Armas does not have the it factor. It's distressing to me personally.
More or less. But, I mean, she did. I was pleasantly surprised by her acting abilities in this one.
Yeah. Boy, she's so good in that Knives Out movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she was in that, yeah.
And also Blade Runner.
Wasn't she like Marilyn Monroe or something?
Yeah, she was in Blonde.
Netflix?
Did they call that movie Blonde?
Yeah.
I think they did. It's a weird movie.
Yeah.
What else did you watch?
That was it on the movie front. I did the Good Night and Good Luck and UFC. Sunday...
How was the Clooney Good Night and Good Luck thing?
It was not bad. They seemed a bit nervous. So basically, this was the second to last show that they were going to do. That Sunday matinee was going to be their last run. So Saturday night, they just put the cameras on, and they just did like a normal play. But there were a couple of instances where somebody stumbled on a word here or there. But it was fine. I mean, it seemed like maybe it would have been better to watch it in person. The camera work was a little off, but it was fine. George Clooney, he has the it factor, unlike Ana de Armas. It was totally fine. Sunday.
Speaking of the it factor, we were flipping around, I think Saturday night maybe, and I saw that was on, and then we landed on the Tonys. I guess this was Sunday night where we went to the Tonys for like 5 seconds. And there's fucking Lin-Manuel Miranda was up there on stage.
No, that was on my phone. I showed you on my phone.
Oh, was it on your phone?
Yeah.
But man, can that guy suck all the air out of everything.
Everything was cool until he showed
his
up.
stupid face over George Washington's shoulder there. It's like, why is this guy here? Fuck.
That was the thing that I watched on Sunday night. Waiting to see, because this is a 10-year whatever. They brought back the original cast, and it was like a medley of some of the tracks from the Hamilton, and that was perfectly fine.
Yeah, till he...
God, he sucks so much.
He sucks.
He wrote the whole thing. I mean, you guys don't give him any credit.
He should be
Lots
watching.
of people write things. They're not in it.
That is true. Aaron Sorkin does not like
with the rest of us.
Yeah, it's not like Aaron Sorkin. I'm going to be the president. I'm Jed Bartlett.
That's right.
Exactly.
You didn't see Aaron Sorkin actually being Sam Seaborn.
That's right. That would be hilarious.
You know he believed that he was. Actually, that was the most Sorkin-y thing about The West Wing, was that all of the main characters always got to be, at various times, Aaron Sorkin, effectively.
I mean, that's his thing.
Well,
Just about everything that he's done was that,
Yeah, except for CJ.
Yeah. And then Will from, like, a newsroom, he wants to be that.
Yeah. All right, so what else?
That was the extent of it.
Okay, that was it. So, as we mentioned last night, we watched...
Challengers.
That's
a weird movie.
The horny tennis movie.
Yeah.
Everybody seemed to like it, right? Certified,
I don't know.
Fresh. All of the reviews were positive. I think it was nominated for and maybe won a couple of Oscars.
I don't think it won any Oscars.
Maybe the score or something.
Yeah, people like the soundtrack.
I think I thought about it all day. Definitely passed the first movie test of do I wish I was doing something else? No, I enjoyed watching it. I didn't wish that I was doing something else at any point during that movie. But also, did it pass the why am I watching this? Like, what are we doing here? Yeah. And if I have to think that, like I should be immersed enough to not wonder what we're doing here. But then at the end, when those two boys hug, I like that ending.
The problem with the movie is that this was a character study with no characters. Like,
they were bad.
I mean, they were bad, I guess. Like, they had loose morals or what have you. But there's very little actual character work was done to make us care about these people.
I didn't care about them.
It was just we were supposed to understand these to be important and meaningful characters based on how much we were titillated by them and nothing else, as far as I could tell.
I was not titillated.
It's been a while since I've seen it. Wasn't there a scene where Zendaya was like, hey, let my hubby win? Because, like, he's the guy's like, what? Like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Right. She tries to convince...
Dark hair.
Right. The failure tennis...
Dark hair. There's
guy.
Blonde and there's dark hair.
He's the Prince Charles from The Crown, I think.
Sure, but dark hair.
Never watched those, so I have no idea. But I believe you. I didn't quite. Again, like to me, these have to be much more compelling characters in order for this movie to truly work. And it's very stylized. Like, and I sort of enjoyed most of that. I think the POV shots from the POV of the tennis ball were kind of lame.
I hated that.
It was CGI balls, right?
Yeah, and the balls.
I don't care.
The balls did not behave as real world balls do.
Right. You're a ball expert.
That's all fine.
And neither did the best buddies behave as real world best buddies do.
You don't know.
At least in my experience of
You're
having
not
had
a tennis star.
Various best
Maybe that's
buddies.
how tennis stars act.
Don't have to recapitulate everything that I said last night, but
you would make out with Keanu Reeves if it meant making out with Ana de Armas.
I believe I also said, without having seen the movie, and it was only confirmed by the watching of the film, that Zendaya does not have the physical presence that makes it believable that she could have been a world-class
she's too skinny
tennis star or athlete of any vintage beyond, like, Ballerina, for lack of a...
she's a dancer.
Like the Michael B. Jordan, he was like, I mean, he was a kid, but like he was on The Wire, and then he bulks up to do the Rocky spinoff. Other actors, they'll, Christian, what's his face, they'll gain weight to be like Batman, like a buff, Christian
Sure.
Bale. Like, do you think there was any consideration for Zendaya? Like, let me put on like 10 pounds of muscle just so I can look like
She
I'm a
probably
tennis player.
did.
She looked pretty thin.
Yeah.
She's very
She
skinny.
needs to have her whole. In order to be a believable elite tennis player, she would have had to have a physical transformation that is not
Years.
achievable by that. Like, she needs to be born in a different body, effectively.
Right.
She just doesn't have the look of that, which is fine. Like, that's
you can
that's
forgive
a
it.
nitpick. I can deal with that. The up close, I imagine, Abe, you were quite aroused.
Boy,
when
this
you,
was a
upon seeing Zendaya's knee crack in two different directions at the same time.
crowded theater. I was like, ooh, look at that. Finally, some action, all the stupid tennis.
Did you automatically hit the circle back button on the Phantom remote in your hand? Like, I want to see the replay.
Note to self, get the DVD or the streaming when it comes out.
You sick fuck. Anyway, I again, like Lori says, did I want to be doing something else? No, not necessarily. But also, I think that the movie didn't quite work on its own terms, which is that this is attempting to be an interesting character study of these people, and they didn't give us interesting characters.
Like I want to
care
listen to
about.
the director's commentary so that they can explain themselves, or try to, because I don't think that they can. I don't think that movie had a point.
Yeah, just
Except a hug at the end. Hey, I fucked your wife. Hug. Like, I like the end.
Yeah. Also, I'm not bragging here, but like when 3 minutes before it finally happened, I said, "Oh, he's gonna do the thing where he holds the tennis ball in the one spot here."
Bob's really good
to
at
make
movies.
his point. And I'm like waiting for it. I'm like, wait, is he not gonna do it? Like, because clearly he has to do it, where
Right.
he communicates the fact that he fucked the wife by holding the tennis ball in the one spot, and they kept not quite getting it, like not doing it. I was like, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. I was
Teasing
gonna be
you is
real
what they were
mad
doing.
if he didn't do it, and then he did it,
And then they hugged.
and then they hugged.
And the movie ended. That's how you end.
To
Just
some
fucking
extent,
end it.
I give it credit for making the Zendaya character awful. Like I'm complaining about the fact that there aren't characters here. At least they made her sort of the out of three awful characters.
She was the worst.
She was the worst by a good bit, probably. But also, like, give me something to like justify her awfulness, or at least explain her awfulness. And they didn't really bother. Anyway, fine, I guess, but not. I guess it speaks to just how impoverished we are in terms of great movies, that this was a movie that was considered great.
Right.
I don't think anybody thought that.
I don't know. Most people, the way it was talked about was that this is a great fucking movie.
And people enjoyed it when it came out.
Not people I
Yeah.
talked to.
Anyway, we also watched half of the Channing Tatum Rape Island movie.
Oh,
and-
that's right.
I'll
yeah.
finish it.
Blink as many times as you need.
Blink twice.
Yeah.
And good credits. The credit, again, snappy. Are we getting shorter? Like the movie, The Challengers, just fucking end it.
Yeah.
End it. This one, credit, 1 second. That's it. Not even a second. Just a blank. There's your title card.
Yeah.
That's it.
What else did we do or watch? Anything?
Oh, no.
Just baseball?
No. Youth baseball.
Lots
Baseball.
of youth sport. We are on the verge here. By the time we speak again, we will have started the All-Star Tournament, and we'll know some results here. Looking
About
forward to
8
it.
and 9-year-olds. Not our own kids.
Yeah.
Other people's kids.
The 8-9-year-old team that I'm coaching, like without knowing at all how good the competition is going to be, because of course it's not like I'm going to
Probably
other towns.
about as
Right.
good.
You don't have a scout team
8
like that
and 9.
advanced
We're
scouts?
not scouting 8-9-year-old all-star teams across District 14 here in Virginia. But I think this is a pretty good team that we have. The problem is not the relative talent level. The problem is how the personalities are going to mesh out there, because we have not yet gotten through a practice where there wasn't some sort of personality clash between these 8-9-year-olds. And
It's like Challengers, really.
Oh, yeah?
It's nothing like that, you fucking weirdo. So that'll be interesting. We'll see how that plays out, and then a week later we will see how the 12's team fares.
Aww.
Yeah, we're on the verge of the end of Calvin's Little League career
I'm so
here.
sad.
Oh, that should be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It's weird. These kids, these 12-year-olds, and I asked Calvin, I feel like because they got to states last year, they are under less pressure. And I asked Calvin, I was like, do you feel like there's less pressure because you guys got to the state championship? And he was like, oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, nice.
It's like, okay.
I don't know. The pressure is going to return as soon as they get on the
Oh,
ball
I know,
field
as soon
for the
as
first
games
game.
start.
Yeah.
But, like, it really feels like this is a team that's got nothing to prove.
I feel the opposite. I feel like we're fucking defending champs here at District 14, and we've got to prove that last year wasn't a fluke.
Oh, yeah? You got to have a bullseye on you? The other teams are...
No, we can't sneak up on anybody this year.
That's true.
We kicked all their asses last year. Speaking of, the NBA Finals ongoing here, there was a game like a goddamn week ago, and then a game like 2 days ago. What are they doing?
They're,
Get
you know,
these
they have
goddamn series in reasonable fashion. If you're not having to travel across the country in between games 1 and 2, play them back to back, or at least every other night. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, they're spacing them out. I guess they're trying to also work. I don't know if I don't think they care about the NHL Stanley Cup, but it's like on. They're not like on the same night, so they're
Right.
trying to get
They're never fighting for TV space there.
right. And that one's like a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup. So
When is the next NBA game?
on Wednesday.
Not until Wednesday. All right, so that's
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah.
I upon seeing that the Indiana Pacers were heavy underdogs and that the Oklahoma City Thunder were minus 700 to win the NBA title this year, I rushed to my FanDuel betting app and put $50 on the Pacers just before the game started. And then the Pacers got down like 30 fucking points in the first half of game 1. I was like, shit. And then they ended up winning game 1 in exciting fashion. And then they got blown out in game 2.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll see where it goes from here. But go Pacers.
You did not
I started
cash out.
I did not cash out. Sort of
I started
a fucking
my
coward cashes out.
college football schedule spreadsheet.
Oh,
so
nice.
Just ready to plug all that information in.
Yeah.
When it's only like 2.5
Yeah, no, it's
months now.
crazy. This is coming.
It's happening.
Who's winning the NBA Finals, Abe? Is it going to be the widely favored Oklahoma City Thunder, or am I going to make some money here on the Pacers?
The Boston Celtics. No. OKC will win it, the Thunder.
Oh. That's no fun. You told me not to cash out my bet.
You know.
He knows that you never do that, so why would he tell you to do that unless you want to get in a big fight and have a ruined evening?
Yeah. Hey, have you got anything else for us tonight?
Nope.
I guess that's all we've got for you tonight, then. We will talk to you next time.
Later. I let it be at that. I haven't.
Premium Chat GPT is more likely to tell you that it wants to be black.
Yes.
Guess so.
I wonder if
I asked it.
it's learned from him.
It must be. It must
Like
be.
surely he's fed it a bunch of like black excellence makes me happy sort of responses, right? Like
right, but it's that I think the person just made it up because he just like he didn't show anything. He just had like some voice thing, and he could have just done like a script, and the voice thing could have just read it. No. Like it just read like so. I don't know. I just thought it was like bizarre. I don't know what's going on with this. I need to do some digging on this TikTok.
Don't dig on TikTok. Leave TikTok.
It just seems to be like a lot of people seem to be consuming this.
Yeah.
Do you have the app?
Yeah, I have the app, but it's just like I hate
how many hours a day on the app, Abe?
I'll let you know as soon as I start using it more. I've been using YouTube Shorts just to see what that's like.
Yeah.
But it just a lot. It's not just a lot of people are always right. My brother sent something about and it was a TikTok thing. I think in the past it used to be Twitter, but a lot of the links that I get now are TikTok
well, but
related.
also TikTok can migrate off of TikTok.
Yes. It's very shareable. It's very,
Yeah, so I don't need TikTok.
But some people just click on the link.
know.
You can just download it and share that instead of sharing the link.
Yeah, I'm never putting that app on my phone just based on my.
either.
Like I know it would be a time suck, and I know I'm sure the algorithm is very good, and it would feed me stuff that I would want to continue to watch. But
My friend who works
No,
in
thank you.
national security would be very sad.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if whatever you gravitate towards, it'll just kind of just feed you that, right? I mean, how do you wind up with AI loves black people, results? Like, how do you get there? Like, I don't think you open with that. It just starts with.
yeah. All right, let me close some of these tabs here. This is out of control. Got some resource hogging going on by the Google Chrome.
My phone was listening to me again yesterday.
Oh yeah, did it recommend something from yesterday?
Yes. We were sitting at baseball, and it was wrapping up, and one of the wives was like,
One of the wives.
one of the moms was like, "Hey, I have dessert in the car. I'm gonna just go get it so we can finish off this dessert." And I was like, "Okay." And she comes back, and she was like, "It's nothing. I just went to a party. It's just an eclair cake." And I was like, "What?" And it's one of these stupid, like, you just lay your whipped cream and graham crackers and chocolate sauce. It was it's easy, quick thing. It was delicious. I had never considered it, and then today, my phone is like, "Hey, that eclair cake everybody's been talking about."
So do we think that the phone is listening? And
Yes.
did you at some point give it permission for it to listen?
When you let it, yes, if I want to do voice to text, I'm giving it permission to listen.
To that, but not always, right? Like I think in theory you're still
No, because
supposed to be
if I want to
in.
sit here and say, "Okay, Google," like if I want that to be a thing that it'll do, then I've given it permission.
Right. Yeah. I
But
guess it's
they are
like,
claiming that it's not, and they're lying. And I'm fine. I've given them permission. I'm fine with
But
it.
it's
I
like,
just don't like being lied to.
It's like people that you know in Facebook sometimes. Like I wonder if Christina, the woman who made this dessert, hadn't been searching for it on her phone, right? And now you're in proximity to her. And so, like, well, hey,
but
we
why
know
is
that Christina searched for and then made, presumably,
Why
this
are you
eclair cake.
I don't want to start a fight, but I feel like you're constantly taking the side of the phone.
I'm not taking the side. I just think that there's usually another answer to
Remember
the
when you
question.
said Maserati?
Right, but also I remember when I was in traffic behind the Maserati. And so, like, what I don't know is it doing something where I'm in proximity to this Maserati and it knows that, which would be weird.
But it's Occam's razor. Like, I've given the phone permission to hear my voice. I say things that I've not searched for, have not even thought about.
right.
And then the phone is like, "Oh, hey, here, that thing you said." Like, why is that not the answer?
It might.
I mean, that is the most likely scenario. Also, Bob, I assume you didn't give it permission, your phone? Like, I wonder if it even respects this permission granting, denying.
I mean, I don't
thing.
know that I have no idea what.
Because you can say the thing and it'll be like, "Yes."
Yeah, I mean, if like I've told Gemini to fucking listen to me when I pull
Yeah.
it up. I don't know if it's listening all the time, but
I wonder that it's also listening to this right now that we're
Yes.
onto it, right? And then it seemed to care.
Because I've given it permission. I just don't like being lied to.
But you want it to play coy, Abe?
Yes, yeah. At least cover your tracks, robot. I mean, also, would it like report any sort of dangerous act? Like if I'm like, I'm just like,
But also,
doing it.
so at the same time, like maybe everybody in our area, or just people who often look at dessert shit on the internet, are being fed this eclair cake this summer, right? And it just so it's entirely plausible that it's a coincidence to me.
Or maybe they've been doing that, and that's
thing, though.
Yeah.
What orange juice thing?
The thing I sent you the other day, where at baseball, we talked about it. We were talking about a piano recital and a punch that I had at a piano recital and the condensed orange juice.
Right, but within the last week, I have searched for, on my phone, like recipes for frozen orange juice concentrate, because like that's the sort of thing.
Well, now we've talked about it.
Right, but what I'm saying is, because we had talked about it, I had something in my head was like, hey, they still even make frozen orange juice concentrate?
But that's
so
not
I looked
what
that
happened
up.
to me.
And then the follow-on was what to do with frozen orange juice concentrate, right. Probably thinking in a boozy manner, like, I wonder if anybody makes some tasty cocktails with the frozen orange juice
they do.
concentrate.
Yeah.
So I was looking that up. So therefore, like the idea that, and we live together, and so
but
it's all.
But it initially came from me, from someone else, and a memory. Like I didn't read about it first. I didn't hear about it first. It happened in my head.
I just think that, so there was this, I vaguely remember this from the Coast to Coast AM days. There was some college, some university somewhere that was doing research, and I think it was called like the eggs or something. And the idea was that, and I assume it was some sort of software algorithm, but it claimed to be able to sort of predict big happenings coming soon. And it was always very vague and not reliable, and obviously
like
kind
Nostradamus kind of thing? Like
right, but
the Tower
kind
of Fall?
Kind of bullshitty. And there's some legitimate research being done, but I think that it was overplayed as to how successful it was. And it was basically like a computer hive mind type thing, like trying to take in all of the information and then predict what's going to happen next. Less mystical and more data driven, but I have no idea. Again, I could do some research and find out what I'm talking about. But the idea of it, I think, was sort of hive mindy, right? And so I wonder how much of our collective interaction with the internet through the various large computer software algorithms that we're all using and sharing all of the time is contributing to our sort of collective experience of the internet being the same, right? And like,
but it's not.
But it sort of is. Like, I know not in terms of the attitude that we're getting from it.
No, I don't
right?
even mean that. Like, people will be like, that viral thing. And I'm like, you and I don't have the same internet.
Right. Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing of this.
I don't know what you're fucking talking about.
Yeah.
Like, people will act like, that thing.
Right, but how many people in your 300-person area that you interact with, right? Like the sort of only 5 of them need to have found the thing or interacted with the thing for it to be presented to you, for it to feel like it was something incredibly random, because you're not going to know who among the people that you regularly interact with have interacted with this thing, right?
I know.
And now it gets served up to you, and you think it's entirely fucking random. But in reality, because Christina was interacting with it, or 3 other people in the extended baseball universe were interacting with it, somehow the fucking internet hive mind, or the great internet brain iron, you might even call it, decided to send it out into the ether in whatever ways that its fingers are able to reach out.
It could be that, and it heard me say it.
Right. Because I mean, like I've been getting a lot of ads related to couches, but that's because I've searched for it, and I've also set it around listening device, right? So like, but like if like Lori said, there have been occasions where there was no input. It was just like words were expressed by somebody in passing, and then and it's some random thing. It's not like some common everybody's eating this cake.
I know, but so we talked about your sofa situation last night. I didn't get any ads for couches today.
Well, maybe it's doing the koi thing that I was suggesting.
We have a couch.
Yeah, maybe.
It knows it's not me that needs the couch. It's my buddy who needs the couch.
I'm going to do an experiment. I'm going to start saying things to my phone.
Right.
Like,
what
I'm going to.
we need to do is like open the encyclopedia, a non-digital encyclopedia, and just turn to a random page and just start yapping out loud about whatever is on the page there, and then see what happens on our Google News feed over the course of the next few days.
We probably should have used low tech to hatch this plan. You just said it out loud.
We just gave the game away.
Well, but also that's where it could be a little bit of both, because I said out loud the orange juice thing, and the internet happened to have that ready to go. Where, like, if we dig up something from the encyclopedia, the internet might not have something new. We're like, eclair cake, obviously that's something, apparently. So it was like, oh, she said eclair cake. Let me send her that article that I've been sending around to the people.
Anyway, I guess we should probably start the show. Now that we've done an entire hour bogus futures segment here in the
you can just plug that in.
Preamble.
Is one of us supposed to start?
No, I'll start. Here we are, a cast iron brains, a podcast.
The proceeding was created with 100% human content.